मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
I'm with Khpolwak Sapai, the head of the TOLO news channel in Kabul in Afghanistan. TOLO is Afghanistan's largest news media. It has a TV channel in Farsi, in Dari and Pashto. Also, it has a website in English, which we in India and I think people all over the world watch very closely. And Sapai Sahab, as he's known everywhere, is the director, not just the director, but a father figure, a mentor to all the young journalists here in Afghanistan. And we know how the news in Afghanistan has been over the last year since the Taliban came to power. It's exactly a year since the Taliban rolled into Kabul without firing a shot. And I'm here in his office here in Kabul. Mr. Sapai, welcome to ThePrint.
Thank you.
So it's very interesting to be here to see your newsroom and to speak to your reporters. But I want to ask you, I suppose it's a question that everybody has asked you. For you as the head of the channel, how have things changed for you as in TOLO News and in the media generally in Afghanistan?
Changes actually, or it's like dramatically, you know. I never was expected to experience such deep and quick changes in my professional life as a journalist, as the one who leading a very big channel in the country, to the news. But we come with that situation. You can guess that how difficult it was for me. I've lost at the very beginning. I mean, after
How difficult was it for you on the 15th of August 2021, which is actually India's Independence Day, Sapai Sahab? So, you know, so the Taliban walks into Kabul on India's Independence Day. I mean, of course, that's a coincidence. But as a journalist, how was it what happened on that day?
That you know, the first of all, let me to like point out the problems I faced inside in TOLO News.
Yeah.
Of course, such a big times after when my colleagues learned that Taliban are slowly getting in the city, everyone was trying to leave the office. They were getting calls from relatives, from father or mother, and from families. Remember, they were asked to leave the office to go home. And they did. Most of them did like that.
Your own employees were leaving the office one by one by one.
One by one, because they were worried of the safety, personal safety of them. And I myself, I was regularly getting calls from my wife, from my son, from my daughter, and they were asking me to leave the office to go home. But I was telling them that I can't do that. I have responsibility of the others as well, so I have to be in the office. And in the afternoon, we learned that the President Ghani also left the country. It was like a big news, in fact. But at the same time, I was very careful regarding the story, because as it was a big editorial decision I had to make the day. From one side, it was big breaking news, and at the same time, I was worried of the criminal gangs existing in the city, and not to panic the public, millions of residents of Kabul. So we were thinking. I was especially concentrating on how to run, how to break the story. But finally, I realized that it's not something to be like kept secret anymore, and so we're in the story. And in the afternoon, late afternoon, I've learned that there wasn't any presenter with us. Everyone left the office, they went home, and so I hadn't any choice than to rebroadcast the contents of the yesterday.
So
but
you rebroadcast the contents of the statements put out by the Taliban.
yes, also we were doing
Again
that
and again.
again and again. It's a statement from the Interior Ministry, statement from the Taliban. Both statements were assuring the public that the transition will take place smoothly and safely.
And all your presenters had left.
Yeah, but our president had left. And then late evening, I have called the spokesperson of Taliban, Mujahid, and asked him Zabiullah Mujahid, to come and to talk to the audience, to the millions of residents of Kabul. He accepted, and we connected him to a phone call to the studio, and I've gave him a floor for around 15 minutes to talk to the public and assure the people. And we were that night around 10. We kept live broadcasting somehow with very difficult. And I've called one of presenter, and he accepted. He came back from home, and we went till 10 of the evening. Then we started some rebroadcasting, and I went home. And the next morning, when I've come, that the situation was like the same. There wasn't any presenter. Then I called a female presenter who was called Afghan, and then she accepted. She came. She was in good courage. She came, and we started again live broadcasting. Then I've got a call from a Talib who got my number. I don't know, but he somehow he had my contact number, and he called me, and he was asking to come to the studio and to talk to her. It was like a good thing for me, and that. And so I told him that yes, he can come. Then he was after 30 minutes or somehow more or less. He was here in the office, and that show turned to a big news on worldwide. First, Taliban members were sitting with a female presenter in the Tolo News studio.
And she was wearing a mask?
No. That time, the mask story is very late. It's from this year. And so another but my.
So then you were at least reassured that the Tolo News would not be taken off air once the Taliban.
I discussed it. I discussed it with Mujahid himself. I told him that it's our shared responsibility. It's for the benefit of you as well. Let's to keep the screen on, not to turn to dark. And so he helped that time as well. It's, to be honest, he sent a team of some people from the Ministry of Information and Culture, Taliban, I mean, and they came and talked to my colleagues and assured them and encouraged them to continue. But
they were okay with women journalists working?
Yes, that does. There wasn't any problem. That does. I mean.
No, after that, even that day, but even after that, for the first few weeks and months, you had your women journalists. Did they come back? Did they come back?
No. Well, let me. It was completely different. The story went different. We at the first 10 days, 10 to 15 days, 10 days will be exactly, or maybe to 15 days, I've lost all my reporters, women reporters, male reporters. I've lost all producers. I've lost all presenters. I've lost all the management level people from Tunis. I've started alone. And I was just it was to manage. You can guess how difficult it was for me. But I managed to recruit new colleagues, very young and unexperienced journalists. You've seen that very young ladies, very young male journalists, but I was that days actually I was less thinking of the quality, or I was just thinking how to keep the screen on. And we were employing new staff. At the same time, we were training them to learn and to
learn journalism.
yeah, to learn journalism as well practically. And it was when I'm thinking of that days now, just I can't believe that I could do that. It was really very difficult experience of my life, but fortunately we survived. Tolo News still is Tolo News with its recognition, with its credibility, and we are doing a lot of in daily basis around 30 stories just to inform the public what's happening in the country. And still we have problems, like,
Right.
those who left Afghanistan are criticizing us that they're saying that there isn't any free media in Afghanistan, which I'm not agree with that, because we are doing story in anything. We are doing story on fighting. We are doing story on killings. We are doing story on arrestings. We are doing story on protests, women protest activists. We are doing story on schooling, and very critical stories. At the same time, from the government side, they're thinking that we are against the government. We are just, we are from any side, and the path is very narrow, but we are just continuing going ahead. It's also not easy. It's really not easy task, but we are doing our job. I'm satisfied with the hard work my colleague is doing daily best. We are impartial. We are just doing credible stories, and still people are watching us, and they trust the stories in the information we are providing for them.
So, Dr. Sapai Sahib, what you just said, describing how the last year has changed you, changed Tolo. But my question is, when you're saying people are still watching you, is it that who is watching? The Taliban is watching, the Islamic Emirate government ministers are watching, the people are watching?
Yes, anyone is watching us. Information, access to information, you mean, is in today's world, in Afghanistan as well, today's Afghans are interested to the information, they need, anyone need to eat and to drink for life. Information is like that. Taliban are watching us, and they are just sharing their observation as well, day by day, nearly every day.
Who, the spokespeople of the government?
Yeah, of the government. Why you are telling like that? Why the story is like that information? When they are not happy, they are just connecting and sharing and sending messages. And public as well, watching us widely, very widely, and also not only inside the country, but in the world wide.
But the Taliban must be. Do they agree that your news is impartial, objective, and but they're not troubling you, are they?
Not too much. But when they have any observation, they're just contacting us and looking for some way to explain why we did that. And sometime we sometimes have some kind of the Ministry of Vice and Virtue more calling us, and
What do they say?
they're only looking to the appearance of females who are appearing in our screen, and they're asking every female character to come to the screen should wear the mask, and we are telling them that it's not. We cannot tell or force a woman to wear the mask when they are coming to the screen. It's up to them. But our presenter, of course, our presenter, it's forcefully they are wearing, but we are not happy with that as well. We have our observation from the very beginning. We had that, and so far, our observation in the class so far. I do not believe the narrative they're saying to us regarding.
But you were forced to make the female presenters wear.
Yeah, it was like a, it was also a difficult decision.
It was a fatwa from the Vice and Virtue.
It was from the West and Virtue announced that the female presenter should wear the mask. It was a big decision. I myself really. We were working under the movie umbrella. You know, movie is like a big media company, and it's a movie group. Yes, yeah, like Tolo, Ulmar, Tolo News, Arman FM, Arakozia Productions, and that's all. Yeah. I was really unhappy with the decision have been announced, and I told the spokesperson of the Ministry of Virtue, he was here in the movie, was coming to announce the decision. I told him I'm not accepting that. It's not something like to be pure Islamic. It's like interpretation of personal interpretation from Islam. So. I was not happy with that. When they left, we had a meeting in movie. I was thinking that it's much better just to close down the channel and the movie instead to wear the mask. But I was alone in my decision, and our legal department came with a little bit different proposal. Was telling that let's leave the decision to the female, to the woman journalists. They live there to make decision of themselves. And so we refer to them, and they discuss the issue between themselves, and finally they come with this decision that they will wear the mask, but they will keep their voice on the screen. So, and we were giving them both two options. If they are not happy to wear the mask, then we will provide them jobs behind the screen, and their employment will be kept, their salary will be kept, and they will work with us, but in different position. But they didn't actually. They were saying that they are looking for their voice to be on the screen. So this decision to wear the mask, it was finally, of course, we had it on touch. There was the Minister of Voice in which was telling us that to erase the woman from the screen, this is the best option for them, they were telling. Otherwise, the film presenter have to wear the mask if they are interested to still to come the screen. So the second choice was like.
So then the women presenters are wearing a mask.
Yeah.
So do they wear a face mask like a COVID?
Yes, COVID-19. It was like a COVID-19 that mask.
That mask, and but their voice is heard.
Yeah.
So
and that day, it was very interesting. So that day, we had a team from AP, I think, we're doing the story. And I was really, I was unhappy that day, really. And I was, when I got into the newsroom, like in the morning meeting, I saw that the AP people were here, a team was here to do a story. And I suddenly asked them just to stop for a while, please. And then asked my colleagues look for black masks if they have around here. And within 5 minutes, there were around, I remember very well, 13 black masks in the compound.
13, 1-3.
Yeah, 1-3. And so I put it in the table and asked my colleagues that is voluntarily for the male ones. I told them so voluntarily. If anyone joining me in a protest, we will in solidarity with our women journalists and colleagues, So we wear the black mask for 4 days, for 4 coming days, as in the protest. And from there the start like I tweeted and like hashtag. And was telling them that free her face, Afghan woman, and it's turning to a big noise in the worldwide. And so that was the mask story was like that.
So even we in India, we heard your mask story, and I think everybody tweeted and retweeted what was going on in Tolo News. But on the 15th of August 2022, 1 full year has gone by. Do you think the Taliban has changed?
At the beginning, after 15 August 2021, for few months, the situation was good for media, but slowly things changed one by one. I think now there are a bit more what more limitation on media than it was at the beginning.
More limitations today on the media than in the beginning.
Than at the beginning.
In what way?
Access to information is getting less, and they've introduced 3 times some very common regulations, which is making difficult to explain, or definition is difficult for us. Media is allowed to tell anything, but to be according to Islamic values. Now Islamic values is how to interpret it. It's difficult. You can drag it to any direction, even, or not to be against the national values, or
So Islamic values and national values, these two things.
Yeah, it's too general,
Yeah. It can be anything.
It can be anything, and that is the problem. I think that is, yes. But still, we are doing very critical stories.
Like what?
Like I told you before,
the
just
killing,
anything. We are doing very critical stories. So
So you're not afraid of doing these stories?
we are, but we haven't stopped so far from that, and so we can. It means that we can do such a stories, and we have debate shows, very critical debate shows to the government, but we are allowed to do that. So it means that they're accepting the critics as well.
The people are watching, I think.
People watching, totally. The people watching.
But say, for example, this interview of mine with you. Now, when I go back to India, we will broadcast this interview. But you're not worried about speaking so frankly and honestly.
No, why? It's the reality. What is going on the ground? It's like based on factuals, on facts. It's that is. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm not telling something not to be true. What are happening? I'm just telling you what we are experiencing practically, and so why I should worry about that.
So one of the girls who I met in your newsroom, who was detained by the Taliban at the women's protest some days ago, now so you would be. So how did it work? Did she want to go to the protest? Did you tell her to go to the protest?
The protests were women protests, and she voluntarily voluntarily went to cover the stories. You watched today's morning meeting, no? Yeah. They're coming with their own daily ideas and agendas they're putting. And that she had information of that protest, and she voluntarily she asked to be assigned for that story, and she went there. We are not sending people forcefully, our colleagues. They have their own daily agenda with them. They're coming, sharing the agenda. We are just discussing the angles, the different angles, how the story will be covered. or sometime.
Do you have somebody covering the Taliban? I mean, of course, every ministry will be covered. The Taliban itself will be covered, but you don't have, say, one person or one reporter assigned to cover the Taliban.
No, the Taliban is the government. The whole government is Taliban. So we can.
We don't have a party, right? Like in India, you would have political parties.
Yeah, we do not have parties. What we have is Taliban all around the country and the government. So we do not have any specific reporter for that.
But Sapai Sab, so how has, in the previous Taliban regime, I don't know if you were a reporter then, but how have things changed? How has Afghanistan changed since the last 20 years?
At least in the media aspect, that time, TV were not allowed to be watched or to activate. Today, we have Tolo News. This is the difference. This is the difference. But like something like regarding this girls' schooling, public are worried. It's like the same experience we had in the first era of Taliban as well. Some similarities, some differences, both are visible.
But what do you think? Do you think the Taliban will? What is the problem with sending girls to school above class 6?
There isn't any. To be honest, I didn't hear any like logic to convince the public that why girls are not allowed to go to school. That they promised different times, no, for in different occasion, and just assuring the public that the girls' school will be open soon. But it took 1 year, and still the schools are closed. And I'm not sure that now anyone is in doubt. Myself, I myself as well. I'm not sure that it will take place, that they will allow the school to be open or not.
You are not sure that they will open the schools, but why not? What's the problem? Why don't they want it?
The problem is not no one has been came with
what the problem is.
What is the problem? Yeah, what the problem is, and what's the logic behind the issue? Because as I told you, they promised so many times the schools to be open soon, but it took 1 year, and I myself I'm worried for the future of my daughter as well. She is in the 10th class. She can't go to school.
So how is she studying? She's studying at home?
She is studying. She's busy with English. Studying. She's going to a private course, and she's studying English these days. But she needs to go to the school.
But because when the people when I talk to people on the streets in Kabul, they all want the girls to go to school. But what is it? Is it the supreme leader?
We do not know. I myself do not know that. But what I know is that inside among the Taliban, many are not happy with the school to be closed, to be kept closed, and the public at all not happy with that. And
so would you report these differences between the Taliban?
On schooling issue, we did like after like from March, I mean, at the late March, when the school is opening, when it was decided to be kept closed. From that till today, we have did more than 400 stories on schooling, and we are broadcast. We had opinion of the hiring Taliban, like Abbas Tanakzeh. He is critic to the issue. We had their opinion. We had opinion of different Taliban as well, and we talked to different figures among the Taliban spokesmen, and anyone was just what they can tell us is that now at the beginning they were saying that it will be open soon. Nowadays they are saying that the decision is up to the leadership. Now only the changes, the narrative is that the decision up to the leadership. But
So nobody really knows what's going on. So last couple of questions, Sapai Sahab, on the killing of Al-Zawahiri. When I asked Mr. Balki, the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, he said, he repeated what the Taliban statement was, which is that nobody knows whether Al-Zawahiri was there or not in that house in Wazir Akbar Khan. He says the government is carrying out its investigation. What is Tolo reporting?
We also did the story based on the information the spokesman of the government provided from the very beginning. We as a media outlet, we hadn't any idea like the leader of the Al-Qaeda to be in Kabul. No one was, it's not something to be kept in hide, you know. Yeah. We hadn't any idea of that. It was a very shocking news, and we were surprised with that when the US president came with a statement and said that they have been killed as Zawahiri in Sherpur, Kabul. But the government, very quickly, the government came to a statement and told that they are doing an investigation, and a team has been assigned, a commission has been assigned to find the truth of the allegations. And what we had is that. And we hadn't any information in advance, and it's really very difficult for us to get more details. Like no one do not have this, the public do not know of that. Like experts, I mean the political suggestion, they also do not know the details of that from the government. Just this two statements from the spokesmen of the email.
It's like a big hole.
Yeah.
Nobody knows anything.
No,
Whose house it was. Yes. We know it was Sherpur in Wazir Akbar Khan area. But
it's like a black hole. No one knows what went in reality. And Taliban are saying that they were still, Taliban are calling it as allegation from the US side. And we are what we did story like all media outlets around the world were doing. First, what was announced from Biden, US president, then reaction from Taliban, then reaction from the world were coming, and then what we are doing and we did and we are doing so far is the consequences of it for Afghanistan and the problem it may create for Afghanistan. We are just doing concentrating like on that.
So, Sapai Sahab, what about the regional players? I'm talking about India, Pakistan, Iran. Russia is also your neighbor, of course, Central Asian countries. Do you report these stories, and especially the India-Pakistan story? Is it a big story here in Kabul, in Afghanistan?
We are not too much engaged with stories like that, because it's as independent media outlet. I myself, I'm very was to be like impartial and balanced in that issues between especially regarding Pakistan and India. If we are coming with a story from Pakistan side, then we do need to go to the other side as well. And sometimes they are available, sometimes they are not available. So, like there was like in the Independence Day of Pakistan, there was, or maybe on Kashmir, I remember there was a statement from the president of Pakistan. They were looking me to publish it in our website, but I told them that sorry, I can't do that. If I do, the next day I have to publish the story from the Indian government, Indian print as well. So we are not interested to engage like the games like that. What I'm interested is just if there is any sense of news, anything like news in the incidents and developments, then I will surely be concentrating on the news part, not on the politics. Okay. It's not. Yeah.
My last question to you is: you see all these Taliban former soldiers all carrying guns openly, machine guns. I mean, it's quite crazy.
Yeah, it's not like still, it's not something normal, no? And it shows that they may have concerns because if they're not concerned, why they're carrying guns publicly around the city? And I remember yesterday in this occasion of the anniversary, they were marching inside the city with guns and with cars, but public were not happy with it. They were telling that in the previous in the Republic era also that people from the north. Northern Alliance were walking around the city with guns and such, and the public, the ordinary people were saying, "What is the difference between those and this?" Right. But still, Afghanistan people were suffering for 40 years, more than 40 years, 4 decades, and this the gun is like turned kind of fashion. Everyone is taking easily gun and walking with it. And
it's like a fashion.
It's like a fashion. It's not. I do not think that it is something neat for the security, because Taliban controlling the country as a whole, Kabul as well, and security is very good today, if to be honest. But I do not know why they are carrying guns among the city when they are walking. I think that it's not needed. It's not needed. Security is in place. There aren't any gangs as well, like it was in the past. Everything is controlled, but still they're carrying guns.
Absolutely, the last question, Sapai Saab. A lot of journalists, like you said, left. Not just left the channel, but many went abroad. But not just journalists. Thousands of Afghans fled the country and went abroad. They're living all over in the US, in Europe, and all these countries. Do you think they should come back and live under the Taliban? And I'm saying including government figures who worked with the Islamic Republic.
It's very difficult for me to judge that. It's up to them. But the big problem in the country still is the poverty. Many young generation, young people are still looking to leave the country, not for security reasons, not for political reasons, but most of them just for financial reasons, for jobs, for poverty, just to earn the money, and they are leaving the country so far. So it will be, and I think Taliban. You may have heard that established a special commission to be in contact, to bring people back, but just it's not enough. I think just to be told that they can live in the homes. Not without giving any shares in the politics in the government. It will be difficult for others to come, or for even at least for money, just for amount of people, small amount of people.
Mr. Khpolwak Sapai, thank you so much for your time, for speaking to me at ThePrint. And we follow Tolo News, of course, and especially your website, although the English website has become a little bit smaller, but we hope and pray that in the coming days it will...
Normal size. It's just we are facing some problem with the human resources and the English part, and we are working that, and I hope that we will succeed to be in normal.
But thank you so much. I think Tolo has been really brave in bringing the story out on a daily basis, and thank you again for your time here in Kabul.